Hey, it's Chris with the Felt Recoil podcast, here to tell you about this week's charity of choice, the Shanghai Healing Home. Shanghai Healing Home is a nonprofit foster home assisting local Chinese children's welfare by providing pre- and post-surgical care to abandoned Chinese orphan children born with surgically correctable deformities. These are great people. Full disclosure, this is the brother of a high school classmate of mine who has started this. He lives in China. He's doing good around the world. So we invite you to find a link to the charity at feltrecoilshow.com and consider making a donation to help the Shanghai Healing Home as they work to help abandoned Chinese children. Everybody needs a hand, these kids especially. So, feltrecoilshow.com to find out more. And Felt Recoil episode number 18 starts right now.
This is Felt Recoil.
All right, welcome. This is Felt Recoil episode number 18. My name is Chris, and straight across from me is the man known only as
Patrick,
a.k.a. P-Mag, a.k.a. Pitchfork. Just depends on who you are. All right, a little pitchfork humor never hurt anybody. I'll explain it real fast just so you know the joke. Wait. There's a gentleman who happened to be in a gun store recently who saw the Navy SEAL Glock that has the trident across the top, and he asked if he could look at the one with the pitchfork. And to me, that was pretty funny. So, anywho, all right.
Doesn't take much to entertain you.
No, it doesn't. We're going to do some housekeeping at the top, and then we'll get into some pretty heavy stuff here. It's March 22nd as we record this, and that's important because today marks the year anniversary of the Brussels bombings. And on said date, it's very interesting that last week we got into Islam very heavy, and I talked about there's no coincidences. You know, Islam has a history with September 11th being the date that the King of Poland stopped their last crusade. And on the year anniversary of the Brussels bombing, we have just a terrible, terrible terrorist attack outside the Houses of Parliament in London. So we're going to get into that. We'll dive a little bit into that in just a minute. But first, I hate to be self-absorbed at the top here after opening that way. We did hit our 5,000 download mark, and it was brought to my attention by a hot chick that I happen to live with. Maybe I was a little confusing in the way I explained things last time, and so I want to just hit the 101 on this again. We've hit 5,000 downloads. We're ready to give away a stripped Anderson Manufacturing lower receiver. You're going to get 2 Daniel Defense 32-round AR mags with it, and here's how you win. Go on your favorite social media platform, if it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whatever the case may be. We're on Snapchat as well. Post a picture of your dream rifle, tag us in it, and then tag every company whose furniture you would use to build that rifle. So if you want Daniel Defense on there, Vortex Optic, whatever you got going, tag them, tag us. We're not trying to play with you here. We're not trying to lie to you. We're going to be forthright with the fact that we're really just asking you to help gain some exposure for the podcast to the big dogs. We secured our spot today at the NRA show in Atlanta, so we're going to go down there and rub some shoulders with people at the end of April. And so if we can walk in and maybe somebody that has some influence somewhere says, oh, yeah, I know you guys. How do I know about you? Oh, I don't know. Definitely wasn't that we asked people to troll you. That definitely wasn't it. We're just awesome. And so we want to talk to you a little bit more. And not that we're not trying to land some lucrative contract here. We're just, we would like these people to know who we are so we can get them onto the podcast. We have interview requests out with people like Travis Haley. We have a request out with Cy and Lauren Hudson of Hudson Manufacturing. We want to talk about the H9 that's coming. We have a tentative agreement. If you're not familiar with Active Self-Protection, you need to go look them up on YouTube. John, I don't even want to try his last name, but I think it's Korea. I think you pronounce John's last name as Korea.
Take your word for it.
It's like Correia. He never says his last name. But that guy, I mean, you talk about a wealth of knowledge. That guy's super, super smart. He talks a lot about verbal judo. He also talks a lot about empty-handed skills are just of the utmost importance. And then he also gets into some firearms training. But he's agreed to come on. We're just going to secure a date. So that's really what we're trying to do here. We want to infiltrate the industry and get some fun people onto the podcast and talk to them in ways I feel like most people don't talk to them. Right? Like when you get in these formal interview settings, everyone tends to take on kind of this
By
persona.
that, do you mean we're going to offend them?
Probably, likely.
I feel like that's what we're really good at.
When I was in radio, I got to meet a lot of famous people from other countries. And one of them that sticks out to me particularly was the Ting Tings. They had a song called That's Not My Name. That's not my name. That's not my name. Right. So I happened to be able to sit with them in a studio and we talked a little while. But one of the things I would ask all of them off the air, everybody I met from other countries, is I'd go, hey, tell me a curse word. It's not a curse word here, but it's a curse word where you come from, something I haven't heard before. And everybody would have one. I'll tell you the one later. The guitarist, the guy from the Teen Tings told me. I'm not even going to repeat it. It was so bad, but it was super funny because it took a minute for it to sink in. But I was like, you got to be kidding. That's hilarious. Anyway. My point is, I always had fun with the interviews with those guys because people of any notoriety, I feel like when you meet them, they usually sit down with a presumption of what's about to happen. And it's no fault of their own because they've sat through these different interviews. They're so stale and boring and everyone asks the same question.
They're different, but they're all the same.
Yeah, it's a different face repeating similar questions. What's a day in your life like? What do you eat for breakfast in the morning? I mean, supposing you're CNN interviewing Barack Obama, it would be something like that. And then I always just wanted to just talk to him, like you're a person just like me. Just tell me about you. What do you do? What is this? What's that? So I would never write down questions. I still don't do that now. We do the one question 5 times, but then after that, to me, it's just, well, who is this person and what do they mean to me and what would I like to know about them? And it's much different, I think, the style and approach of I'm just going to have a conversation with you. I don't treat it like an interview. I treat it like a conversation. And that's what we want to do here.
What you're saying is we prepare for nothing.
We prepare for nothing is absolutely right. Probably the last thing some of the people we've invited on want to hear. Like, I don't want to talk to these guys. But anyway, so that's kind of what we're doing here. Trying to obviously gain a little bit of exposure. That'd be nice. But also as a thank you for spreading the word and telling your friends about it. And guys like Jason from Virginia that we run into as a habit now, who comes in and says, man, I tell everybody I meet that they should check you guys out. It's not really a proper way. I could never phrase how appreciative we are. So maybe giving you something, much like I do my children. Dad loves you. I don't believe you. Here's a cookie. Okay, you do. That kind of stuff. Maybe that will help. All right. So we've hit the 5,000. The game is on. Steps are easy. Post your dream rifle. Tag us. Tag everybody whose equipment you would use on the rifle in your post, and then sit back and wait to win. Pretty simple stuff, right? So good luck. Hope you get it. One other kind of housekeeping issue, if you will, is I want you to keep your eyes on feltrecoilshow.com. In front of me now, or I think these are going to be it, right? Boy, here's how exciting our lives are. For about the last 2 weeks, a lot of my free time has been spent looking at coffee mugs and pint glasses. And we've settled on 2 coffee mugs here. We're going to get the Felt Recoil logo put on them. And we're going to get a little web store going online. So if you want a nice coffee mug, show a little love to us, help keep this thing rolling along, we'll have that too. So just make sure you're hanging around feltrecoilshow.com as a habit. Make sure you're also clicking over to the blog there. There's a lot of fun stuff you can read up on there.
Don't forget pint glasses on the way too.
Pint glasses are on the way. On the way. We do have those purchased. That's true. I forgot about that. So we have pint glasses as well. We'll get up there for you. All right. So here's what is just everywhere you're looking today. So we got to talk about it. Not only do we have to talk about it because everybody's talking about it. It's never a reason to talk about anything. That's the annoying part of the news is once you get there.
Isn't that what the media does?
Yeah, it's what everybody's already said whatever, right? So by the end of the day, they're all talking about the exact same thing in the exact same way. So if you're unaware, Sometime it was morning time, our time, prior to noon, East Coast USA. What are they? Is the UK 6 hours, 8 hours ahead? Greenwich time is 8 hours, right? All right. Here's the headline from The Sun UK. Sick and depraved London terror attack. The victim has been named. The officer killed was police constable Keith Palmer. There have been a total now. We're up to 5 dead, including the killer, I believe, and at least 40 people injured. Police officer killed by a maniac who mows down pedestrians at 70 miles per hour. He's in an SUV of some sort. We've been looking at the pictures. Haven't really decided exactly what he was in, but it doesn't matter. He was in an SUV. He goes across Westminster Bridge before crashing into the Houses of Parliament gates and launching a frenzied knife attack that kills one officer, and then he gets shot, rightfully so, by another police officer. But he stabbed police constable Keith Palmer to death right outside of the Palace of Westminster. There is something to learn here right off the bat, by the way. A lot of media outlets were reporting he was Asian. And this is going to sound as crazy as the cyanide bomb story we posted that everybody gave us grief about on Facebook this week.
Well, just to be clear, you are fake news.
I am fake news. Thank you. But this will sound absolutely nuts. But you need to know that the European media refers to Muslims as Asians. I know that sounds crazy, tinfoil hat type stuff. But just do a Google search. Do a Google search and do European media, Muslim, Asian, and watch everything that pops up, because there's actually an advocacy right now for stop labeling them as Asians, because some people say the term Asian is offensive because it's kind of grouping a large contingency of people into one thing and saying they're all the same. But it's also, there's a group that says, yeah, but we need to be honest about what we're dealing with here, okay? We can't just call them Asian. We have to identify that they're Muslims who are following a fundamental form of Islam. They're doing exactly what their prophet did. It's an odd thing to me that when I was reading back today on the Brussels bombings, and one of the main guys shot in that was named Muhammad. And you have so many Muslims around the world that are so easily offended about their religious faith, but so few people are outraged whenever a guy named after the founder of the religion does something so horrific. Where's the outrage from the Muslims who believe that guys that name Muhammad that blow things up are as blasphemous and sacrilegious as the guy that draws a bomb on the top of Muhammad's head? Where are those people? Where's the murder of that guy and his family for having the name Muhammad and carrying out an act of terror? Why doesn't that happen? Right? It could only be because they understand that's the fundamental application.
I think you're asking where are the moderates?
No. Right. Where are the moderates? Well, also, where's the consistency? So here's what it proves. If you're outraged that drawing a picture of Muhammad is blasphemous, and so someone has to die because they drew a picture of Muhammad, and that's blasphemy. If that outrages you, and someone named Muhammad detonating a bomb and killing a bunch of people doesn't cause outrage for you when he does it and says, I do it for Muhammad, then we have to assume that you agree that him doing that is only because that's what Muhammad did as well. It's not blasphemy to the Prophet Muhammad because that's what he did. This guy's just acting just like the Prophet did. He killed a bunch of people, okay? He enslaved people, right? He had a child wife who was basically his slave. He bought and paid for. That was Muhammad. There's no arguing the facts of who the guy was. So, all right, here's what I wanted.
Peace be upon him.
Right, shut up.
Told you I wasn't going to let it go.
Here's what I want to focus on, though. It's very easy when things like this happen for people to immediately go, well, gun-free zone. Europe's a gun-free zone. Of course they're going to get hit by terrorism. Well, America's not a gun-free zone, and we've been hit pretty hard by terrorism, okay? Now, in Garland, Texas, we stopped it. San Bernardino, we eventually stopped it. 9/11, we weren't able to stop. 3,000 people, citizens of the world, by the way. Those weren't all Americans that died. There were foreigners in the towers working that were murdered, but 3,000 people died.
Not to jump ahead of your point, though, Garland, Texas, how was that stopped?
But yeah, by a guy with a gun, by a cop.
A team of cops, right?
One cop
Was it
specifically.
okay, maybe it was just one.
Well, I remember getting in a fight with my boss at the time. I was reading news for the Blaze radio network at the time, and the lady in charge wanted that guy referred to as a security guard, but he was a school resource officer. And in Texas, to become a resource officer at school, you have to go through the police academy. All right? This isn't the reserves program. You're not a volunteer deputy. This is you actually become a cop and then ask to be the resource officer. And that's what that guy was. And he shot and killed him. Well, I kept referring to him as a police officer that stopped the shooting. She said, no, he's a security guard. And I had to say, because she would only reply all, but I said to a whole group of people, you don't understand how offensive that is to that guy. Okay. If I was a cop who went through the 12 weeks of training to become a police officer, and then you were referring to me as a rent-a-cop security guard, I'd be super pissed and offended. So I'm not going to offend him that way. So what I did, I just didn't mention it. You know what I'm saying? And she was so obstinate about being wrong, which she was.
Hey, what was it like working for Tommy?
Right. Yeah, that was her. That's interesting. Yeah, and then she got her own show. That was weird. Yeah, we kept having to agree that abortion was cool. That was weird. If you don't...
Moving right along.
Right. In case you don't know, that's a girl who works for the Blaze or apparently is suspended now.
Suspended.
When the pretty face gets away from the teleprompter, it doesn't go well. It just doesn't go well.
That's right. Just ask Obama.
Right.
Start stuttering, mumbling incoherently.
All right. So only felt recoil laughs its way through the news of a terrorist attack, right? But so Garland, Texas is stopped by a resource officer who shot the guy. But then you are correct. I'm not trying to say you're wrong. Resource officer shoots the main perp, and then a group of guys comes around the corner and puts an end to the other guy. Because I believe, if I remember correctly, there were two attackers, drove up in a car, got out, started shooting.
The greater point I was trying to make, though, is...
Yeah. Guns?
Well, he's a cop. He's there with a gun on his hip and prepared. Versus, say... something starts at the mall or wherever you're at, and maybe you don't have a gun on you. You've got one in the car, something like that. I mean, the odds of being engaged like that, no matter where you are, London or Greenville, South Carolina, are probably pretty slim. Right?
Yeah. And I can't remember if I've said this or not, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but recently, where I work, I caught a shoplifter. Okay. And maybe this was ill-advised, but here's what I did. I saw the guy stealing, and then I walked past our exit because it's technically not theft until they pass all points of purchase, right? So I knew he had to show no attempt to pay. So I went and waited for him, and as soon as he passed the cashiers and came out the exit, I said, hey, you want to turn around and go back inside for me? And he was as compliant as it gets. All right. Super like, I can't believe I got caught. I'm so sorry.
Full disclosure, you're a pretty intimidating guy.
Right. I'm terribly intimidating, I'm sure. I'm sure. I was bigger than him. I understand my stature, but if people knew like how terrified I am, like it wouldn't work. But that is actually the point. So here's a guy who he probably had 25 years on me and probably about an inch away from heart disease. I'd say that was fair, right? And I say, hey, can he go back inside for me?
Bad.
And he goes, oh man, like he knew immediately what was going on. But I didn't have a name tag on. I didn't identify myself with the store or anything. As soon as he walked out, I just said, hey, let's go back inside. And I got to tell you, here's the point. I take him back. I make him sit down. I could tell you some funny portions of it, but I won't for the sake of this. He starts basically acting like an idiot. And I say to him, hey, man, look, just relax. I want you to do me a favor and sit down, put your hands where I can see them. Because, you need to know this. So when I pulled him back in the store, I said, you have any guns on you? He said, yep. And I was like, okay, where is it? And he patted his chest. And I said, oh, okay, you want to unbutton your shirt for me real fast? Now, I had already told him that I was armed and that the guys around him were armed. And I did that because I work in a gun store. And I wanted to be real clear with him. I'm under a strong assumption here that you're probably carrying a gun. That's what you're doing here. And I saw you stealing ammo. I doubt you're stealing it to resell. You're probably stealing it to use, blah, blah, blah. The point is, I said, let's just go back inside. And he got all shifty. And I said, hey, do me a favor. Keep your hands where I can see them. I'm armed and everyone around you is armed. And I don't want anything to happen. I want this to be smooth for everybody. You be easy with us. We'll be easy with you. Again, he was super compliant. He had a gun on him. I took the gun. I took him back to the room to wait on the police, asked him to put his hands on the table, and he wouldn't. He kept going, no, I'm good, I'm good. I said, hey, man, listen, I already pulled a gun off of you, okay? You got a lot of stuff around your waist. It'll make me more comfortable, and you can stay comfortable. Just sit, put your hands on the table. He constantly refused to do it. Truth be told, I was actually kind of scared he was going to shoot himself because he was starting to act really depressed, like, oh, I can't believe this. Oh, stupid me, silly me. Now, what's the point? Here's the point. I got to tell you that my adrenaline was pumping so hard just from catching a shoplifter. And I was starting to feel so nerve-wracked by the whole experience that I, honest to God, had the thought, what would I do if this were a high-stress, that guy's trying to kill me scenario? I would wig out. I don't know what I would do. If my body functions like it's functioning right now, I might be in a little bit of trouble because this high stress is hard. This is hard. I couldn't function right now the way I function when I just go out and practice drawing my gun. So that all ties back to London How, like exactly what you were just saying. I'm not convinced that if I hear a car plowing over 40 or 50 people, right, and my first thought is not going to be shoot the driver. My first thought is going to be, man, there's been an accident, and I'm going to run over and start assisting people. Then if that driver gets out and starts stabbing people, how long is it going to take me to realize that's what's happening, right? Which full circle means that I believe the cop that shot him after he stabbed the other cop probably did it as quick as absolutely anybody else could have. I don't think guns would have made the difference. So for the sake of what are you saying? They wouldn't make a difference?
But let's look at how he started the attack, right? He's driving across the bridge. What I read was he hopped the curb and gunned it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, being realistic, let's say I'm Mr. CCW and I pull my gun from concealment. What effect am I going to have on a guy mowing people down doing 70 in an SUV?
Right.
Probably not a whole lot.
Yeah.
So for all the guys that are saying, well, you know, it was gun-free zone, right, got it. But I mean...
But what difference is it going to make? What difference is it going to make that a guy that gets in a car and plows through 50 people would even think... He doesn't care if you have a gun at that point, right? He's going to do what he's going to do. So let's pretend everybody's armed. All right, so let's face that head on. All the people who will say, well, if gun laws were not as strict over there, they wouldn't have as much terrorism. I think that's a fair argument because we can admit and we understand that terrorist attacks are more frequent in Europe than they are in the U.S. And I do believe that's because we're heavily armed, and they know that. I think they're going to infiltrate us through the legal system and get people like Keith Ellison elected who will go and champion their cause. And then that will be the way they try and take over the United States. They'll do it in every legal way possible. However, that being said, everyone on the bridge today could have been armed, and it wouldn't have made a difference. It just wouldn't have made a difference.
It goes back to train how you fight.
Right.
Right?
So, which is why I always have someone yell threat, because every fight I've ever been in, the bad guys always said to me, here comes a threat, and they punch me in the face.
It's just one of Chris Costa's classes.
It's the way it works, dude. Yeah. Well, that's why you go prone.
Oh.
Because when they yell threat, there's a fist flying. You go prone, they don't hit you.
Makes perfect sense. My point, though, however...
Hold on. Let me... speaking of those guests we were trying to get, just mark that name off. Right.
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
So, let's just say again, for the sake of argument, you had a gun, and you saw the guy, and you actually realized what was going on, which I don't think you would.
And he's still moving?
And he's
in
still
this
moving.
scenario? Okay.
70 miles an hour.
Right, nothing.
How many times have you ever tried to shoot something moving 70 miles an hour?
When I was big game hunting in Africa, I did get Click Clack, the tour guide. I asked him if he would scare a cheetah my way so I could try and draw on it, and I didn't hit
Was it a Giselle?
it. Was a Giselle. It was funny because I had a Giselle trigger in my AR.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It's not gonna happen. Nobody, we don't. How in the world would you even start? So okay. Why did we bring all this up? Obviously for the attack itself, but no amount of training is going to prepare you for that. It's just not until you've been there. And even then, I mean, God bless. How many terrorist attacks would you have to go through to ever feel like you could normally respond to that tragedy? There's just no way to do it. So here's my point. Let's not talk about how guns might or might not have made a difference, because that's the obvious comment, right? Let's talk about how do we stop this? How do we stop the growth of terrorism? Terrorism is a cancer. The Islamic faith is a cancer, and it is spreading, okay? The fundamental tenets of Islam are a cancer. It just is. And I invite anybody that wants to join us to tell me why I'm wrong. I'm really happy to have a very civil conversation. I have 3 questions that you won't be able to answer and that would disprove that statement, okay? It is a archaic, backward, barbaric belief system, and it is spreading rapidly, especially, by the way, in America's prisons. So how do we combat that? How do we, honest to God, combat that? Well, we could try talking to them, right? We've been talking to them for how many years? 1,400 and a give or take few years. We've been trying to talk to these people about why Islam. Hey, listen, if you want to be a Muslim and you want to live over in that part of the desert in your tent and have your faith, that's cool. But that wasn't good enough. That wasn't good enough. Muhammad decided, well, I got to conquer everything I can see. So he did. And now we're in 2017, and we're trying to say the exact same thing. Hey, maybe you guys could just live in Saudi Arabia. Maybe you could just live in Jordan and in Turkey and the United Arab Emirates and Egypt and everywhere else, and you could just leave us the heck alone. And they go, no, that's not good enough.
And that'd be cool.
Yeah, right, exactly. So you guys, you want to stay over there? Nope. We want to come to your country. Be it Canada, the United States, the UK, whatever you got. We're going to come there, Sweden, and we're going to implement our faith and our belief system. And if you don't put up with it, we'll label you bigots. We will play the PC card and we will tear you apart from the inside. And so now the rest of us are left having to deal with that. So how do we deal with it? And quite frankly, it's going to sound really, really harsh, but it's just truth to power here. You have to kill them. You kill all of their friends that believe it, and you kill absolutely any family member that believes the same thing they believe. You kill them. You eradicate evil from the face of the earth so that it cannot regrow. So I actually had cancer. I think we've talked about that. It was not a serious form of cancer. It was very like, hey, you have the good kind of cancer if you're going to have cancer, because you get to be dramatic and tell people you had cancer, but not ever going to hurt you. Cancer.
So old.
I know, but
so old.
Hey. Oh, so you don't care about people that have cancer?
See what I mean?
Yeah. and not, first of all, not a single doctor treated it the way I treat it. They were all like, hey, man, I know this is tough. It's hard to hear. And I was very, maybe you could say cavalier. I was like, nah, man, not a big deal. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, it is just thyroid cancer. And I go, yep. From what I understand, sometimes they're not even taking it out. They go, yeah, no, sometimes we just leave it alone and watch it because it doesn't grow. It doesn't spread usually, blah, blah, blah. They were, kind of understood. So when I had an actual cancer in my body, though, I never met a doctor that was like, so here's the deal. Probably the best idea is just to let it fester. And I would really not ever address it again. Every doctor I met with would go, so with this, you just watch it, you monitor it, and you make sure it doesn't grow. But with yours, mine in particular, had grown to an extent that they said it's probably been there for a couple of years and it's growing, so it's got to go. Yours, you got to take care of. So what they do, they went in, they cut all of it out, and then to be safe, they did radiation. And then to be safe, twice a year, they check my body to make sure there's not any cancer inside.
Are you implying we use nukes?
Yes,
is that where this is going?
That is absolutely what I wanted you to draw from that. That is the conclusion.
I didn't see that coming at all.
If we have to nuke these people to kingdom come and then hunt down their distant cousin that happened to survive and now has a third hand growing out of his forehead and knock him out, do it. The time for talking is over. The time for talking was over September 12th, 2001. Time for talking is done. It's done. It's done.
But Chris, never forget.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's
just what everybody said after September 11th.
Too soon, Elon.
Well, I think everybody's forgotten, though.
They do, right? Well, of course we do. We can't remember anything from this week to the next when it comes to world events in the news. People, it's so funny because we joke about it, but it's so true how the news does this great thing where they get to say something and it sticks with people. And then the people forget it was even a thing. So when the retraction comes, they don't even care. When Don Lemon tells the world that the Sweden rape crisis isn't a thing, right? And people go, oh, yeah, it's not. Well, when Sweden actually comes out and goes, no, actually, it is a thing. Rape is on the rise. Well, even if he does go back and retract, nobody cares. Because the only thing that sticks with them is what he says with emphasis, what he says with his conviction. That's all they really care about. So this is a case of being able to say, September 11th was a tragedy, but Islam is not the problem. Let's move forward. And everybody goes, well, that's settled. The case is settled. Islam isn't the problem. Move on with it. Move on with it and get over it and move on with it. But the case is not settled. They keep killing us. They keep killing innocent women and children. They keep doing the most atrocious things you can imagine. They're cutting people's heads off on the beach simply because those people follow faith they disagree with. So at some point, we have to agree that we treat it like we treat every other disease in the world, and we kill the host, and we kill every bit of residue the host leaves behind, and then every so often we check up on it, and we kill anything that might pop its head up that even resembles it. Chris, that sounds terrible. You're a terrible person, some would say.
You are.
I am. But the fact of the matter is,
I say it every day.
I care more about the fact, so many people care about the fact that their kids grow up to see the endangered dandelion blossom in the spring. I care that my kids get to grow up, period. And I understand that your global warming tree hugging stuff for the dandelion is your cause, but for me, a greater cause is, what is the freedom of mankind rest on? And that rests on the idea that men can be free and govern themselves. It's the exact opposite of Islam. Now, before you think, by the way, before you think that this is all one guy acting rogue, right, as I'll tell you, let's play a little clip here. I don't know this dude's name. Abu Izzadeen, I think.
Seems legit.
This is a YouTube clip, readily available. If you put his name into YouTube, you get a ton of hits. This guy was known in the UK as a radical Muslim. Here he is talking to 4 uniformed police constables, they call them, about Islam inside the UK.
You know as well as I do. Yes, because we are Muslims. Exactly. And you know well no.
That's his voice.
Everyone knows that in the UK there's a crusade against Islam and Muslims. Everyone's aware that the Muslims are under attack in the UK. Everyone knows, one second, sorry. Everyone else knows that the British, they bomb Muslims in Syria in support of Bashar al-Assad. Okay, so they're against the Muslim community. One second, I can go abroad and fight with Bashar al-Assad and kill Sunnis and it's fine by law. But if you're a Muslim, you'll be done as a terrorist. When Bashar al-Assad used chemical weapons against Muslim Sunnis, it's fine. When Muslims fight back, they're terrorists. When the Israelis murder Muslims in Palestine, it's fine. When the Muslims defend themselves, they're terrorists. That's why it's a crusader war against Islam and Muslims. And that's why the police are here today. Christians down the road, don't worry about them. Hindus up there, no problem. Sikhs underneath there, no problem.
If you don't mind,
Muslims,
we had a chat with the group down.
Of course you did, officer. I really believe you. Do you believe him?
No.
Of course you don't. They're liars.
Those are all of his friends,
I say
dressed in their
openly,
costumes.
If you live in Dar al-Kufr, in a land where Islam is not implemented, they will oppress the Muslim community, as they do every day. Did you know, by the Metropolitan Police's own statistics, you're more likely to be stopped and searched if you're a Muslim than any other sect of the society? You could be Hindu, no problem. Sikh, no problem.
Wish they'd have stopped him this morning, huh?
Black and Muslim, more trouble. Do you understand? That's the reality living in Dar al-Kufr. And you know as well as I do, the officer's silent because they know the truth. They killed that guy Mendez in Stockwell. Why? Because he looks like a Muslim. And in the UK, you're innocent until proven Isn't that right, officer?
Those are all of his friends.
Silence.
They agree.
In court.
100%.
I'm in charge here. Say nothing. You understand?
Chatting with you.
That's right. You can go in it. I didn't force you to come here. You're harassing the Muslim community.
Now he's in a back and forth with one of the officers here.
Go back to your offices, go back to your cars, and go do some real work for a change. We pay our taxes, and you steal and do nothing apart from harassing the Muslim community. You know how many Muslim houses been raided, and sisters been arrested, and strip searched, and put inside Holloway because they're Muslims?
Precisely.
Do you know that?
I want to cool you down, young man, if you have this.
I'm very hot. I don't need to be cooled down.
Cool you down.
It's all right. I don't need an ice lolly.
If someone calls us, we have to come and have a
Of course, officer. You believe that.
We've come to have a
You believe that you come to help everybody. The police never shoot Mendez. Remember Mendez? They said he jumped over the barriers and ran into
So
Stockwell.
this is leading
What
up to
really
something
happened
important
is
here in just a
he
second. I
walked
want you to
into
hear
station,
the
he
crowd
paid his oyster,
reaction.
He got on the train. They shot him 11 times in the head. And when they shot him 11 times, you know how many officers went to prison for that? None. When they shot Duggan inside Tottenham, how many went to prison for that? Officers? None. Because in a system where man rules, there will be oppression. Where Islam is in charge, it's a justice. Allahu Akbar.
So when Islam is in charge, there'll be justice. And here all those people agree. This is a big movement towards, I know it's so cliche, but this is their push for Sharia law. They want total, overwhelming control of everyone around them. And this guy was coordinated. He attacked him simply because he wants to kill people who don't think the way he thinks. It's cancer. We have to kill it or it will kill us. And I really don't have a problem. Kill everything it's related to. Kill everyone who agrees with him. Kill every friend he has that is on YouTube saying the guy's right. Kill them all. God will sort them out and we will live peacefully. It's the only remedy at this point. Unless somebody has a better idea I haven't heard.
I do take issue with the fact that he keeps pointing out the Sikhs and the Christians and every other, what do you say,
Right.
segment of
The Hindus.
the community aren't being stopped and searched as often. So, obviously the question here is how many times have they committed an act of terror
Right.
on that populace?
Right. Yeah.
Because it's probably none that I know. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go with probably a 0.
What if we just made an agreement where, let's just say, for the sake of easy numbers, we strike an agreement where, so there's 100 mosques in this town, there's 100 churches, there's 100 temples, whatever. And for every one terrorist attack committed in the name of your religion, we are going to monitor 10% of your worship centers. Okay? It's that easy. So the minute somebody blows themselves up and says, I did it for Gandhi, we'll take over 10% of the Hindu temples. When somebody says Jesus is Lord above all and blows something up, we'll take over 10% of the churches. And when somebody says, my name's Muhammad, just like my prophet, and you all must die, and kills 5 or 6 people, then we're taking over 10% of the mosques. And here's the thing. It accumulates until somebody from the other faith commits an act of terror, and then you get, we'll just say 20% off, and then they get the 10%, right? So if we're in, at this point, 120% of the mosques around town, and then some crazy Christian goes and does one thing, well, we'll now only be in 100% of them, and then in 10% of the churches. But then remember, when your Muslim buddy does his thing that he's definitely going to do soon, well, you're right back on up there.
I feel like the guys that invented baseball right now.
Right, yeah. We have to
Could you
figure
imagine
it out.
sitting around that table?
We have to
All right,
figure it
so
out.
you're going to hit the ball with a stick, and the guy in the middle is going to throw it, and then you're going to run over there. I think that's what just happened.
Something like that.
We'll come up with a cool name for it, something catchy.
Not about the guns, guys. Not about the guns. And I really think we got to take the fight to them. If there's only a few things I might love about Donald Trump, and one of them is definitely I don't think the dude's afraid of a fight. And I think he's going to take it to him, and I hope he does. I hope he just takes hellfire with him. Speaking of fights, nice transition. Let's move to the old Twitter feed. I don't really know if you know that I'm a prophet, but I am. I've been known to spin a prophetic phrase or two in my time now.
Peace be upon you.
Yes, absolutely. I will henceforth be known as Chris Ali Mubababa, goat herder. I don't even know what I'm talking about. All right. So I want to say this is the interesting lesson I learned this week. There's probably only a couple of companies that I do business with, regardless of a whole lot else. Starbucks is one of them because I like their Americanos and I like them as a company. I think they do good things for people, and I think there's a lot of misinformation about them out there. Saddleback Leather is another one. What you got? Haley Strategic Partners. I'll do business with them all day, every day, right?
Sure.
Arc'teryx. I like those guys. If I could afford more of their stuff, I'd buy it. So you get attached to these brands for many different reasons, right? We have a local baseball team called the Greenville Drive, and somehow, some way, they thought this week that what would be a good idea. Now, set the stage here. We are in Greenville, South Carolina. There is, and this is not me being cliche or just, saying things for the sake of saying them. Legitimately, there's a church on nearly every street corner in this town. Okay? The house that I grew up in, within a mile radius, no kidding, I could name at least 5 churches.
There's one on my street in my neighborhood.
There you go. They're everywhere. They are everywhere here. Okay? There's a lot of people. Vast majority of this population goes to church. So somehow, our minor league baseball team this week decided we'll make fun of Tim Tebow on Twitter. We will mock Tim
Peace
Tebow.
be upon him.
Yeah, peace be upon him. And we'll call him a wannabe, washed-up PR stunt. And they went after the dude with a vengeance. And it wasn't funny, and it wasn't tongue-in-cheek clever at all. It was a lot of stuff they ripped off from other people. It was, quite frankly, at the beginning, to me, it seemed like they were trying to be like Wendy's. If you've seen the Wendy's Twitter feed, you understand what I'm saying. If you haven't, sign up for Twitter just to follow Wendy's. People will tweet Wendy's and go, "What's the best thing about McDonald's?" And they'll reply, "The exit." And, and they just got such great snark. But it's never vindictive. It never sounds
in good
mean.
fun.
Yeah, it's so obviously just they're having a good time, and people feed Wendy's these questions on purpose. People will be like, I don't have exact examples, so I won't even try. But Wendy's, they obviously have a team of really funny, clever people sitting around a table, reading the tweets to each other, writing jokes back. It is so good. Like, one guy was like, took my girlfriend to Wendy's. She didn't like her food. What do I do now? And they said, dump her. Like, things like that, just really, really brilliant stuff. I guess the Drive thought that's what they were going for.
But everybody's biting their style. Wendy's, I'm talking about.
We got to now. I mean, they set such a trend.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah. I love the snark, and I like brands that have a personality. I think that's what sells people to the brand. If you can convince me that you think the same way I do, I'll do business with you, and I'll probably do it mostly blind in the sense of, I'm going to buy your stuff without a lot of homework on the quality of the product just because I like who you are. I'm a big fan of Saddleback Leather, as I just said, and that was twofold. Number one, he gave away a lot of free knowledge, which is something I think is important, because if they're willing to give away knowledge, I mean, that just says something about how much they actually know. They'll give you this much, they're probably sitting on a whole lot more, which means the quality is probably better. Another reason I'm drawn to Travis Haley as an instructor is because he's so willing to give away free knowledge, and I can vouch first person, if you go take a class, I mean, you're only getting the tip of the iceberg on YouTube. See what I did? If you've taken a class, you get that reference. All right. So Saddleback, great quality, free knowledge, but then he had a page dedicated to his dog. And he had a dog when he started the company. The dog has since passed away, and he had this whole immemorial thing. And I was just like, this is my guy. This is my guy. I'm going to buy from this guy all the time. And I do now. And I've continued for nearly a decade now. So what am I getting at here? Here's the point. Greenville Drive takes on Tim Tebow and felt Recoil. Our first tweet was basically like, yeah, this doesn't really seem smart. You're kind of in the Bible Belt, and probably bad PR move type thing. And they tried to reply and say basically that we've had so many positive responses, you can't possibly be right. Well, lo and behold, by the way, it's absolutely exploded. First of all, they've gone quiet. They haven't tweeted again about Tim Tebow.
Well, yeah, because they fired that guy.
It had to have been, right?
And he knew the password. Nobody else does. Like,
Everyone-
I guess we just won't log in.
So what do we do now? I don't know. My favorite thing that they did this typical thing where they found one person that agreed with them and retweeted it and said, yeah, if everybody else would stop taking social media so seriously, they would understand why this is funny. No. It's not that we take it too seriously. It's just that it's not funny. We said it up front. It's not funny. Tim Tebow is a guy who is a modern day martyr. Okay? He had a lot of potential, but he was overly zealous in his faith. The mainstream media didn't like that. If you think ESPN gives two pisses in a bucket about what somebody's faith is, if it's not PC, they'll cover Colin, whatever his name is, for not standing up for the pledge all the time. No problem. Well, that deserves a conversation. We need to have a conversation. Is America racist? Is the police force racist? Tim Tebow takes a knee and prays before and after the game, and they go, whoa, separation of church and football. It's in the Declaration of Independence. How could you even argue that, right? So they did that typical thing where they found the one guy, and they go, yeah, everybody needs to stop taking it seriously. But then when they told us, well, it's because the response has been so positive. Well, it was an obvious PR stunt from them based on a couple of things, but mainly because it was so well coordinated. The tweet comes out. It doesn't gain a lot of traction. I did the math. It was less than 0.5% of their followers reacted to the tweet within the first couple hours. Then the local Fox affiliate, local CBS affiliate picks it up, and then one of the major guys picks it up. So it was absolutely, they coordinated and told everybody they were going to do this, and everybody said, okay, yeah, well, we'll cover it once you do it, get the ball rolling, get some responses, and once the responses start rolling in, we'll cover it as a story. That's just the way these people work. They all know each other. It's all network.
That's no.
Never happens.
Pure coincidence.
So it turned into this all-out feud.
I refuse to believe your conspiracy.
You're fake news. Is that right?
Yeah, you're right.
You're referencing the Coyotes. There's so much to get to. So that was the fake news reference from earlier. Was they told us, Felt Recoil, you are fake news, which was funny because they had also just made fun of Donald Trump. So we asked, how are you willing to make fun of the guy and then you steal his cliche remark about the news being fake? It was just so poorly done. So what does all this mean? It just means that it was a weird sensation to me to have this team. I've been to a lot of games. I root for the guys. I still love the team. I don't blame the team that whatever PR firm they have hired made a really poor decision because I don't think the drive is behind it. I can tell you this. There are a lot of people who are now saying they won't go to Greenville Drive games anymore. In fact, the vast majority of the people commenting were saying, well, I'm not going to spend my money with you this season. It's not going to happen. Because, again, you're in the buckle of the Bible Belt. Tim Tebow is a modern-day martyr, and you think I'll make fun of him, and people will latch onto that. It's the dumbest, most disconnected decision I can possibly imagine from anybody running any sort of marketing or PR for a company in this town could absolutely ever do. It was unfathomable to me that they thought Tim Tebow was the guy to take on. It'd be another thing if they took on like the team that drafted him and said, well, he can't be too smart. The guy's good at football, but baseball, get real. Something like that you would get. But to take him on personally, call him a 28-year-old wannabe and a PR stunt, a little too much, a little too rich for my taste.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder what the guy that's typing all that's done with his life. Because I guarantee he hasn't done even a fraction of a percent of
right.
what Tim Tebow's done.
He couldn't
or
even
given for that.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean, because we're talking about a guy who gives heavily of himself in terms of volunteer work. He's been all over the world.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money he gives out, but I bet it's a lot.
He raised in 2016 alone, he paid for thousands of children. Well, okay, wait, that's the wrong way to phrase it. Let me correct it right now. He didn't pay. His foundation raised the money and paid for thousands of children to have surgery that they needed. And then they raise money and they pay for these massive social events for people with special needs. And the gripe I have with the drive as I said on our Twitter feed, if you want to follow us at Felt Recoil Show, is that Tim Tebow is one of the few really good people in the world that has a spotlight shown on him constantly. And despite that, he chooses to do good. So why is he the guy we're beating up on? The Kardashian family are soul-sucking wastes of oxygen, and nobody gives them grief. Nobody. They are endeared to the Hollywood community. If the Drive and the people that are operating their social media could get an interview with a Kardashian, they would take it. They would ignore the fact that family's only wealthy because their dad helped OJ get away with murder. They would ignore that. They would ignore the fact that Kim Kardashian's famous because she was willing to bang a dude on camera and put it on the internet. They would ignore all of that. None of that matters anymore. The only thing that matters is that other people think you're cool. And it really is, it is high school magnified 1,000 times, just as meaningless and as shallow as it ever could have been, with cliques that now happen to have a little bit more money. But they're just as horrible, soulless people as they ever were.
I think the funniest part, and I'm not on Twitter, just so everybody's real clear about
You're
this.
not following the show.
I'm not.
That's why we only have 50 followers.
Well, yeah, that's probably part of it. Sorry to let you down, buddy.
That's all right, man. I don't blame you.
What I thought was funny, because I looked it up, because I was kind of following along, and I was just reading through it, and not once but twice they blamed an intern
Right.
for their distasteful posts.
Right. Trying to be funny again. Another
Right, well, I
run-of-the-mill joke.
I don't think
that
it was
people
trying to be
pull.
funny. I thought it was
Oh, really?
legitimate blame shifting. Like, oh, it's not somebody we actually pay that came up with that. It's just some intern.
Right, just having
Come
a
on,
good
get out
time on
here.
Twitter on a Monday morning, or whenever. Yeah, it was Monday, I think. It's just, it was a really, really strange thing for me because I love the Drive. I love our little ballpark. We're an affiliate of the Boston Red Sox, so we have this, green wall. It's, I guess, I've never been to Fenway, but apparently it's like a mini Fenway type thing. And it's cool. It's a nice little venue. But man, getting that, you're just like, I don't know. I don't want to put any more money into your coffers. Look at who you are. Look at what you put up with. And as far as I can tell, there's been no retraction of any sort, no explanation for why the stunt went as poorly as it did. It'd be one thing to make the statement, and then everybody gets mad about it, and then you go, hey, guys, look, we were only meaning to have some fun with this, but obviously we hit a sore spot. And so apologies. We're going to find something else to joke about. But honest to God, we love Tim Tebow. Because that's kind of how it came full circle. So as the negativity grew, right, they softened their stance. And by the end of it, they were saying, hey, here's what we'll do. We'll host a charity night when Tebow comes to town, and we'll donate money to a local charity. It's like, whoa. Too late. Too late. You already said you hate the guy, that he's a wannabe, that he's going to strike out every time he heads to the plate. And you've said he's a PR stunt. You can't say that in a negative connotation. Oh, it's a PR stunt, and then turn around and go, but if it's good PR for us, we will latch on. Don't you worry, my friend. We will latch on. So it really irked me, but it was an interesting thing to kind of feel betrayed by a brand I used to believe in. And maybe that's silly, but it is one of those things where you go, man, I've spent a lot of money. We've taken the kids there. They play on the playground. We watch the game. It's a good little time. But not anymore. I mean, it's not going to be a habit anymore. Maybe occasionally if other people are going, I might buy a ticket and go. But, to me, it's much like Cracker Barrel. And I know that sounds crazy, but here's how they relate to each other. A lot of people have forgotten that when Phil Robertson came out and said the Bible disagrees with gay marriage, Cracker Barrel pulled all Duck Dynasty stuff off the shelves. And then when the backlash came, they said, "Oh no, we're only going to pull the Phil Robertson stuff." And people said, "No, that's not good enough." They said, "Okay, put it all back. So they put it all back. What does that tell you about Cracker Barrel? Cracker Barrel is not a company that holds the same values I hold. Because whether I disagree with them or I agree with them, what I do appreciate is that you have something you believe in and you stick with it. But don't tell me we're going to pull all the Duck Dynasty stuff today. Oh, but wait a second, we won't make as much money? Oh, anyway, put it all back. That's what they did. They realized we're only popular in the Deep South, and we will lose millions of dollars for going against a fundamental biblical principle. So let's backtrack on that.
So Cracker Barrel didn't think it all the way through, right?
Not even close.
They thought one step into it, and then it channeled into this other thing. I think that's exactly what happened with the drive. Is they thought we'll poke a little bit, we'll get some reaction, and that'll be good PR for us. In the there's no such thing as bad PR sense, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that they expected the snowball effect.
Yeah.
And how you can't forecast that in the world we live in, where social media runs everything, and opinion can have that snowball effect, where you post it and I see it, and then I post it,
Right.
and then my friends see it, et cetera, and it grows exponentially, and the sentiment, the feeling, the opinion grows exponentially. I think that's where they totally miss the boat. So if let's just say if their intent was even remotely lighthearted, it was so lost,
Right.
so fast, and then it spiraled out of control. And that's when they came in. Oh, we'll do some damage control. Okay, well, now we're going to donate. And he guess he's not such a bad guy. Well,
A little too late.
A little too late for that.
A little
right?
too late. Well, here's how. This is what made me decide I'm a prophet and I can tell the future.
This should be good.
One of the tweets I sent, once it all started falling apart for him, man, I just was pouring salt in the wound. And so I tweet.
Have you let up yet? Just for my own curiosity.
Yeah. I don't think I didn't tweet them at all today. Did I? Maybe I did this morning.
I gave him a break.
I gave him a break today. But I did think about like doing something with some crickets. Like I was trying to figure out how could I tweet that it's really quiet over there today, but I couldn't put it together. So I had a busy day. But the point is this: so yesterday during their ferocious back and forth with me, I said, let's all name things. And Twitter's not working right now for the record. I can't pull it up, so I'd read it to you verbatim. So forgive me if you go and look, and this is a little bit off. But I basically said, let's all name things that we think lack creativity or any empirical evidence of common sense. Number 1, Al Franken, and number 2, the Greenville Tribe.
And I just stopped there.
And I just left it at that because I thought it's funny because Al Franken is so absurd all the time, and they're being so absurd right now, and he's not creative, he's not funny. Anyway, so then today, I'm watching the news this morning, and lo and behold, did you see this with Gorsuch? So he tells Neil, is it Neil Gorsuch?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if you don't know, this is the nominee.
That's Neil Gorsuch. Peace be upon him.
Peace be upon him. Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court, who from all standards is a stand-up guy. As Ted Cruz has pointed out, when he was nominated for his current position, there was zero resistance. It was this unanimous vote to put him in his federal judgeship or whatever. So he's testifying, or not even testifying, he's answering questions to the committee, and it becomes Al Franken's turn. Did you see this? And Al Franken goes, I don't even blame you for being politically active. Okay, I don't hold that against you. And Gorsuch interjects and goes, well, yes, I walked the district with my mother when she ran for Congress in 1976. And Franken goes, right. And he continues to move on. Well, as it turns out, in 1976, Neil was 8 years old. He was 8. And this is what Franken had. Like Al has this big thing in his
did his
pocket here.
homework, huh?
Oh man, he was so excited. Like I don't even blame you for that. Well, yeah, no kidding. He was 8 years old. Like I don't blame you for eating your boogers. You know, he was like, hey, Senator Franken, I don't.
I really wish old Gorsuch had just gone, all right.
Well, he did roll his eyes. He did roll his eyes. Imagine if he'd replied with, and you know what, Senator, I don't blame you for believing you are Superman. I don't believe I'm Superman. Yep, but when you were 8, you probably did. Like when I was walking the district with my mom. You piece of trash. Like what a horrible. Al Franken is such a horrible person in general anyway. But then he's dumb on top, so it's hard to even be nice to the guy. He's such a weird person. And he was never funny, for the record. All right, one other thing. I mean, I've got a whole list of things here. In case you haven't heard, by the way, congrats to Jim Fuller and the gang at Rifle Dynamics. Did we talk about that? I cannot remember if we mentioned it last week. Congrats to everybody at Rifle Dynamics. Jim says they have sold, essentially. He's staying on. He's probably going to be the Yoda to the Skywalker with the money. Hopefully they're all cashing paychecks bigger than we'll ever see right now. And hopefully the quality remains for Rifle Dynamics products. But kudos to them, man. He deserves it. That's a dude
I feel
that
sure as long as Jim is there,
quality
will
not
stay.
be a thing. He is probably the only reason I'd ever own an AK.
I have no desire to own an AK other than one from Rifle Dynamics, which I will. I will have one.
You do know that Travis Haley, peace be upon him, says that he likes the AK platform more than the AR. No, wait. That's wrong. Sorry. Not that he likes it, but that it's more near and dear to him, I think is the way he phrased it. Something like that. But when he did his AK reload video, that was so cool. He said something about that in the teaser.
I'll have to take your word for that.
So, just so you know. I was handed a business card this week. I was talking to a guy about getting some Cerakote done on my gun. I'm getting a lot of slide wear or holster wear on my slide, on my Glock 19. So I'm kind of in the market, and I'm thinking about sending it back to Fire for Effect. They did my 17 Vickers, and I love the work they did.
Slick.
But my 19 being my daily carry, and it's nothing bad. This is standard industry stuff. This isn't just Fire for Effect. But you're looking about a probably 4 to 6 week period to get in line, get your work done, all that. No problem. Patient.
That's even short for.
Yeah, for what you haven't
most.
done? Yeah, absolutely. They were real quick on that. So you're right. By industry comparisons, that's a really fast turnaround. Again, no blame to them. I'm not griping. I'm probably going to do it. But I get handed this business card. You talk about reasons to do business with companies and reasons to not do business with companies. This is the best non-warranty I've ever heard. Almost as good as Ruger's. If you're ever really bored and you own a Ruger,
Then I'm sorry.
hold on. I own a Ruger. Ow. I have a Ruger 1022.
Still in the box.
Still in the box. I have 3 kids, and this will be something for them to learn on. It's still like in all the original packaging. You ever read the Ruger warranty?
Actually, I have.
Okay. This is great. You're going to love it. But I think what the business...
I think. Let me. If I could just quote it from memory, it goes something like,
yeah, that's very close. All right. All right. The business card I was handed for the Cerakote job reminded me of this, but it's even worse or better. Depends on how you look at it. So this is legit. Is the
depends
camera
on
on?
if you're Ruger or the Cerakote people.
Let's get this. Here we go. This is straight out of the box. This is a Ruger 1022, right? And here is the warranty on the back. Let me read it to you. Why no warranty card has been packed with this new Ruger firearm. No go? It's all right. The Magnuson-Moss Act, Public Law 93-637, does not require any seller or manufacturer of a consumer product to give a written warranty. In your face, consumer. Doesn't say that. I made that up. It does provide that if a written warranty is given, it must be designated as limited or as full, and sets minimum standards for full warranty. Sturm, Ruger and Company, Inc. has elected not to provide any written warranty, either limited or full, rather than to attempt to comply with the provisions of the law and the regulations issued thereunder. There are certain implied warranties under state law with respect to sales of consumer goods. As the extent and interpretation of these implied warranties varies from state to state, you should refer to your state statutes. Sturm, Ruger and Company wishes to assure its customers of its continued interest in providing service to owners of Ruger firearms. So we have an interest. If it breaks, we'd like to service it for you. God knows how much we'll charge you. That's what the Ruger warranty says. So if somebody says to me Ruger has a lifetime warranty on their firearms, when they're looking at them, I always try and kindly correct them and say, I can appreciate the fact that you would like for it to, but quite frankly, it says on the back, you look at what your state law says we have to do, and we'll abide by that, but otherwise, no go. Maybe we'll fix it. Maybe we won't. There's no warranty on a Ruger firearm. There is no written warranty. Now, this company is called Ace Firearms, and I'm handed the business card this week, and it says, this is not a joke. If you go to feltrecoilshow.com and click over to our Facebook page, you will see this picture. If there's a chip or crack, bring it back. If there's a chip or crack, bring it back. We have a 90-day warranty from pickup of Cerakote Project. Warranty does not cover, and remember, this is for guns. This is for your firearm. Warranty does not cover day-to-day standard wear or tear, i.e. holster wear or firearms dropped on concrete. We strive for 100% customer satisfaction. Please do not hesitate to contact us on any potential issues relating to our work. Warranty is void if any work is altered or modified by a third party. We do not reimburse third-party gunsmithing fees.
Let me translate that into Ruger speak.
No.
Uh,
I wish I could wake my 2-year-old up and bring him down here right now, and I'd go, hey, Abram, we're going to clean your room. No. Yes, we are. No. And then you're going to take a nap. No nap. No nap. That's what this sounds like. Like you would walk in with your gun and go, hey, so you guys did this work about 6 weeks ago, and I've had it in my glove box and in and out of the car every day, but it's kind of fading away. And they go, no Cerakote, no warranty, no. Like, yeah, but it says here that you have a 90-day warranty from pickup of the project. No, glove box, no. Like, okay, are you sure we can't do that? No. Oh, okay. Sorry. It's the best non-warranty warranty in the business. 90-day guarantee against anything and everything except anything and everything that might normally occur during normal activities. That's what that should read. That's the way that should go. But instead, it's a whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of nothing.
I'm thinking about going and seeing this guy.
Okay, let me know how that works out for you. Real quick, before we wrap it up, because we're about the hour and 10 mark right now, the cyanide bombs in Idaho are a real thing. I don't know. We got a lot of grief for this on Facebook.
Because they're fake news.
Hey, go look at facebook.com/feltrecoilshow. We're not kidding. It's a real thing. And I don't want you to feel like we would ever post something to purposefully mislead or to be clickbait. I mean, we don't get paid off Facebook posts. We're actually usually paying to boost them to garner some attention. You can go to USDA.gov, and they will explain to you what an M44 device for local predator control is. And it reads as follows. The M44 ejector device is an effective and environmentally sound wildlife damage management tool. The spring-activated device delivers a dose of cyanide powder to targeted animals. It uses a cyanide capsule that is registered as a restricted-use pesticide by the EPA. The device can be used only by trained, certified applicators. It's authorized for use to control coyotes, wild dogs, and red, gray, and Arctic foxes. Now, why is this important? Why am I talking about it? Because it killed a family's dog and severely injured their son in Idaho this week. Almost killed the son. And the problem is that nobody told the residents of the town that they had planted these devices all around.
And as was pointed out by some folks who commented on our post, typically these devices are marked as such, that they're in the area within however many yards and to stay back.
Here is Fox6now.com's take out of Pocatello. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Pocatello, Idaho. The family of a teenage boy sprayed by a cyanide explosive that killed their dog is outraged they weren't told the device was planted near their home. Canyon Mansfield, 14 years old, went on a walk with his dog, a 3-year-old Labrador named Casey, on a hill behind his house. Quote, I see this little pipe that looked like a sprinkler sticking out of the ground. I go over and touch it, and it makes a pop sound and spews orange gas everywhere. The orange gas was cyanide. It sprayed into Canyon's left eye and onto his clothing. The teen grabbed some snow and washed his eye out, which, by the way, That's smart. That's a smart kid, man. He knew what he was doing. And then he realized Casey was having problems. That's the dog. I look over and see him having a seizure, Canyon said, holding back tears. I ran over, and he had these glassy eyes. He couldn't see me, and he had this red stuff coming out of his mouth. So anyway, he runs home, calls his mom. His dad works at the hospital, shows up, tries to revive the dog, by the way. His dad, Mark, says, I hurried home. The first thing I did was try to resuscitate the dog. Unfortunately, I exposed myself to cyanide and had no idea. It took hours after emergency crews arrived and help from multiple agencies to find out that Casey had died from exposure to an M44 spring-activated device that releases cyanide when activated through upward pressure or pulling. We didn't know anything about it, the dad says. No neighborhood notifications, and our local authorities didn't know anything about them. The sheriff's deputies who went up there didn't even know what a cyanide bomb was. The Mansfields have lived in their home nearly 10 years and have never seen an M44 in their neighborhood. They say the one triggered last week was planted on the borderline of their property. Yada, yada, it goes on, and then the USDA has issued an apology. And by the way... this is so incredibly sad and weird. We couldn't have a proper burial for the dog. We didn't know how to deal with the cyanide. Nobody from the U.S. Department of Agriculture has contacted them to apologize. They just issued a statement. If you plant bombs by our house, they say, just tell us. By the grace of God, we're still alive. It's a 14-year-old speaking common sense to the USDA. By the way, his parents say they hope no other family has to endure what they've been through. 300 yards from the swing set, they found 2 more cyanide bombs. Kills anything. It'll kill any dog, and it almost killed my child. That's your government at work. That's Fox6now.com. The story is available. You go to feltrecoilshow.com. You can click over to our Facebook page and read it there. It's not a hoax. It's
strange to me that these devices exist.
Isn't it weird?
Because how many hunters are there ready and willing that if you took the money that you're taking to pay someone to go out and develop these,
right,
set them up, and pay for the materials, you take that money and you put a bounty on whatever these nuisance animals are, and you just pay those guys out. If it's $5 a head,
they'll do it.
There's guys that will go out there and waylay coyotes. They will freaking slay them.
They'll spend more on the cartridge than they would what the bounty is.
Easy.
I got my 338 Labua.
They got $10,000 night vision on out there trying to get $5 a skin on
sure
some coyotes.
Yeah.
Why not? But they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like this is not a smart way to spend money.
South Carolina did a thing, and you told me about this, right? Remind me. They tagged a few coyotes. Is that right?
Like a half dozen or something.
They tagged like 6 coyotes
last year,
and then if you could kill one of those and bring it in, it was $1,500. $1,000.
$1,000.
$1,000. People were wild over it. I only knew it existed because everyone in the store was talking about the fact that this thing existed. I'm not even much of a hunter. Like, I'll go out there in turkey and deer season, maybe, and try and get some food to eat. But everyone was talking about it.
To touch on a point you've made before on the show, people don't read the article; they read the headline. So everybody thought it was going to be $1,000 for every coyote they killed. When in reality, there were 6 of them in the entire state.
Yeah. 6 of them. Oh, in the entire state, not per. Like, we have 6. What do they call? They're not called districts.
Game zones.
Game zones. That's, I have a degree in political science. I went with districts. 6 game zones across the state. So that's 1 per game zone, essentially. But, man, people were wild over them. They were wild. Oh, yeah, man, if they pay this bounty out, I'm going to be out there hunting them down. You're exactly right. You could probably make it $50. Save, taxpayers a ton of money and take care of your nuisance problem. No doubt. I mean, are they considered predators? Is that what coyotes are? Or just, what do they call them? They call them, so it's not, I know nuisance and then predators and then, is it nuisance animals? What are hogs? Because they're always in season. Nuisance animals. Those guys are always in season. They taste good. I don't know about coyotes. But anyway, just wanted to clear the record there. We got called a lot of... It was so funny because I posted it to Facebook and I said, if we told you that this was real, you would call us crazy conspiracy theorists. But it is real. and it was
A
real.
bunch of people chimed in saying we were full of crap.
You're so stupid. And you know what's funny? Here's what's interesting. Please be careful how you talk to people on social media because most of the people. So let me explain it to you this way: when you do a Facebook ad, which we did with that, I boosted it for a whole whopping, I think, $10. Woo! But it was a chance to get the name out into Idaho. Like, here's a relevant story. I looked at the counties surrounding where it happened, and I targeted those counties and big locations. Salt Lake City, Utah is just south of it, things like that. And I thought, well, we'll try and expose the name of the podcast out to these people, maybe get some more friends on board with what we're doing, blah, blah. You have to pick what the people you target are interested in, okay? And it will tell you, when you correspond with them, what things you have in common. And the people that were most worked up against us all told Facebook, at least, that so what I mean by that is on their profile, it says, I like Breitbart.com, Glock Inc., Fox News, Springfield Armory, Realtree Camo, you name it. Those are, I try and get that nuanced about, we only want to target people that really like this. So when you have this ad and you send it out and then everybody's angry, I was like, whoa, why is everybody mad at us? Like, read the article and then let me know what you think about the article. We had so many people angry, and then I would click over their profile and they'd be, oh, I like Breitbart. Oh, I like Fox News. Oh, I like this. I was like, wait, why are you yelling at us? We're on the same page. We would agree on 99% of the stuff. What are you talking about?
Boys down in South Carolina think they know how we do things in Idaho.
I guess.
They got another thing coming.
Those guys are wrong. Yeah. But that's kind of the other side. It was just not necessarily by geographic location that bothered me as much as
just interests in general.
Yeah, we are all interested in the same thing: the shooting sports, outdoors, and hiking, yada yada. But they felt like we were being jerks for spreading that story around.
We usually are.
I mean, I am one in real life. I don't want anybody to ever think I'm not. You meet me, you're probably gonna be like, man, that guy's that guy's a piece of work. But it was just interesting, and because you click on these people. One guy, I mean, I can't even read exactly what he said. This guy Russ says, considering the source website is reasonably well-known retail line, right? Sounds positive. I dropped this into the quote "nice try loser" category. I call BS here. What? Blair Dean,
you cited Realtree.
Realtree. That's like citing Under Armour.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the biggest names in camouflage ever.
It's not.
I think they're just making stuff up just for their own benefit.
Yes, he did. Blair Dean says, you guys are so full of the S word. All you want to do is instigate hatred. Shut your pie holes and get a real job, effing losers. So I said, you too, Blair, you too. I mean, what are you going to say to that? Chris Moon, by the way, was pretty funny. He said, gee, Blair, you sound like a real winner or whiner. Homer Turner put a BS button on our page, which I don't mind because if you look at Homer, he has the Confederate flag rising above some mountains that looks to be sunrise, and it says, good morning. And then a 1985 glamour shot of some chick as his banner picture. I don't know what's going on there, but that made me laugh too. So it was just this weird thing that everybody went after us.
Very Napoleon Dynamite of him.
Yeah, very much was. Everybody going after us, but I felt like, if we sat down and had a cup of coffee, we'd probably all agree with each other. But anyway, Chris Moon, Tyre Seymour, a few other people that all said, hey, yeah, this is real. This happened. And what's funny is someone named, I guess that's Dalen, said, yes, this actually happened, and the boy is lucky to not been hurt or killed. It's in my hometown. And other people said this was just down the street from me. This is just, Chris Moon. Sorry, this is true. It happened 15 miles from where I grew up. Just trying to clear the record here. I'm not a fan of, Alex Jones here. I'm just telling you what it is that we're reading. I listed, by the way, several sources. We have Realtree, as you said, and then I posted USDA.gov, U.S. News and World Report, the Daily Mail, KSL.com, the Idaho State Journal, and the Fox6now.com article. They're all up there. So if you feel like any of that's bogus, please go and look at all those references. They're there for you to see and verify that story. Okay. Okay, I got one more thing for you before we go. I know I say it a lot about how much I hate pop culture and radio, specifically bowling, because that's the side of pop culture I was involved in. But I saw a friend update his status this week who works where I used to work, Intercom Radio, and they said they were giving away Chris Brown concert tickets. You can go see Chris Brown. You want to see
Peace
Chris?
be upon him.
Yeah, no. Lots of fist punches to his face be upon him. Baseball bat to the side of the head for all I care. And I know you think that's me being really mean. Oh, Chris is a hateful person. Christopher Million. Well, maybe towards Chris Brown, I definitely am. I have this thing where if someone is unapologetically evil, I don't mind if they get hurt. I know maybe that's weird, but that's just how I feel about it. So he posted this thing saying, if you want Chris Brown tickets, I got him on my show week. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Here's why it's so very, very interesting. Chris Brown, we all know, beat Rihanna, a young girl at the time, to a bloody pulp and left her on the side of the road. This is very important to remember. He beat her up inside of his car, left her on the side of the road, and took off. Okay? Let's back up to May 23rd, 2014. 2 radio hosts in Rochester, New York, were fired this week following an on-air discussion slamming the transgender community and their city's recent decision to cover benefits associated with gender reassignment surgeries. Kimberly Ray and Barry Beck, hosts of the Breakfast Buzz on 98.9 FM The Buzz, were terminated Thursday morning following their, quote, hateful comments against the transgender community. The pair mocked the city of Rochester's decision to cover related physical and mental benefits for its employees during a 12-minute segment on their show Monday, with Kimberly saying, quote, you're probably a nut job to begin with if you're seeking reassignment surgery. Rochester Mayor Lovely Warren made that announcement. It's been approved. The new coverage, if you are a city employee, will pay for services related to your gender reassignment. So the dude can look like a lady, and the city is going to pay for it. Your tax dollars at work. Beck then said, does this mean then they'll also, if women want to have a boob job, they'll pay for the boob job? Because that's only right. The hosts said that people seeking sex change operations should pay for it themselves, going on to use some colorful language and themes and discussing the matter at length. Intercom, the company that owns The Buzz, issued a statement Thursday announcing the firing and speaking out against the host, saying, quote, this morning, Intercom fired Kimberly and Beck effective immediately. Their hateful comments against the transgender community do not represent our station or our company. We deeply apologize to the transgender community, the community of Rochester, and anyone else who was offended by their hateful comments. So, to be clear, if you say that people who want to cut their reproductive organs off in order to look like another sex have mental problems, which they obviously do, you cannot and are not welcome to work for Intercom Radio. However, if you mercilessly beat the bejesus out of a young girl and leave her on the side of the road,
Then we're giving you tickets.
we would like to do business with you if you can fill a stadium full of people.
I got a serious question.
Please.
What percentage of the population is transgender?
I don't know off the top of my head, man. I really don't.
right.
I would guess. So we know it's about 1.5% to 2% for homosexuals, and we know that transgender is a very small subset of that. I'm gonna guess less than half of 1%. Less than half of 1%, easily.
So
Maybe like
how much of the population of Rochester was actually offended?
0, probably 0.
Right.
Yeah, it's all image. And it's all this image where they have to fit in.
You got to be inclusive.
But it's a bubble, right? It's a bubble. It's these people, and it's the problem with pop culture. It's what bugs me about pop culture. Did you see Seinfeld accept a reward? Did you watch that video where Seinfeld talks about accepting his reward and what BS it is to accept that reward? Did you see that?
I don't know about a reward, maybe an award.
Did I say reward? Really?
You did 3 times.
All right. Listen, when Seinfeld got his award, I don't even know what it was.
I'm not sure he knew what it was.
Okay. This encapsulates so well what I'm thinking right now.
Your whole career as a comedian is about making fun of pretentious, high-minded, self-congratulatory BS events like this one.
Colorful
whole
language
feeling
ahead, by the way.
in this room of reverence and honoring is the exact opposite of everything I have wanted my life to be about. I really don't want to be up here. I want to be in the back over there, somewhere over there, saying something funny to somebody about what a crock this whole thing is. And I don't want to give you the wrong impression. I don't want you to think that I'm not honored by this, because I am. I feel very, very honored, but it's just that awards are stupid. Every real estate office has some framed 5-diamond President's Award thing by the desk. Every hotel check-in has some gold circle service thing. Every car salesman's a platinum jubilee winner, and it's all a big jerk-off. It is. The hotel sucks, the real estate person is stupid, and the only thing the car salesman is good at is ripping you off.
So, all right. There's much more to be seen there. It's so good. But his point is so good because they're all so pointless because it's just us celebrating ourselves, and it's exactly what pop culture is. Your song doesn't get on the radio unless you're on the label of a big-time artist willing to play a show at a discount for the radio station. That's usually how that works, right? Or your song gets on the radio because you've made it big and you're willing to give the radio station 100 tickets to your concert for free, so they agree to 100 more spins every week of whatever record it is you're pushing. It's all it's quid pro quo, right? Like, you give me something, I give you something. It goes back and forth that way.
Payola? Is that not what they call it?
Which is what got Intercom in trouble, by the way, before they killed a woman that was drinking the water, if you remember that. Or was it a man? I don't remember. Intercom killed a guy or girl. Can't remember. They did a contest called Hold Your Wee for a Wee, and you had to drink as much water as possible without peeing. And someone called in and said, hey, that literally can kill someone. Like, you can drown and it's not the same, but you're drowning, basically. And the host goes, we don't care. They signed waivers. Ha, 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 ha. And dude or girl leaves and dies because they drank like a gallon of water in 20 minutes or whatever it was. And Intercom got busted, yes, for payola plugola, it's called. It's where we will agree to basically talk good about your product in exchange for you giving us the free product or some money or something of value in exchange. But more to the point, so obviously, by the way, Intercom has an ethics issue in its history.
No.
But then you get this smug, arrogant statement from Sue Munn, the vice president and general manager of Intercom, to say, we deeply apologize to the transgender community. So, because somebody said you might have a mental disorder for wanting your reproductive organs chopped off. You get that out of Intercom, but then Intercom says, but we're going to bring a known abuser of women to town because he'll help us make money. They didn't think Kimberly and Beck would make them the payroll that Chris Brown will make them. So they're okay with giving away tickets to a Chris Brown concert, but they're not okay doing business with somebody who, hey, a couple of advertisers might not spend dollars with us anymore. It's all about that bubble. So the transgender people, as messed up mentally as they are inside of that bubble. And they control part of the conversation. And they're able to say, look, we will have people who won't spend money with you if you don't placate our feelings. You got to make us feel good about ourselves. You got to play to us here, or we'll go and make sure those ad dollars don't get spent. So Intercom panics. But I guess because it's been a few years, it's okay to do business with a guy that literally beat a woman to a pulp and left her on the side of the road? What sense does that possibly make? If you're doing business with Intercom Communications, you have to feel some deep regret and remorse for contributing to the paycheck of a guy that beats up on girls and leaves them on the side of the road. I think it's only fair. It's just such an interesting, it's really not even interesting. It's kind of sickening, and it's expected, and that's what pop culture is. It's people who don't have principles but want to act as if they do. Well, I have principles. My principles are I have no principles. That's the one thing I believe in, is don't believe in anything, and then that way everybody can get along. Don't say we got to rid the world of Islam. Let Islam just kill us first. Let's, you feed the tiger, however it goes, so maybe we're last. Maybe we'll be the last meal on the menu. But I'll tell you, when I saw that, it got me a little worked up. So I started trolling their boss over there on Twitter and asking him for an explanation. I tagged him in a few things and said, hey, I'd love to hear how you justify the fact that your company is willing to do business with a guy that beats girls to a bloody pulp and leaves them on the side of the road. And she wasn't the last. If I remember correctly, Chris has been in trouble ever since then. Remember he got in that standoff with police inside of his house, wouldn't come out and all that?
Sounds like a good guy.
Didn't he kidnap a girl? Isn't that what that was? A girl was trying to leave? Yes. They had a fight in the foyer of his house.
So here's the thing,
He wouldn't
Chris.
let her leave. She called the cops.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You hate pop culture.
Right.
I just ignore it. So all these things you're talking about, I got nothing.
You got no idea. And
I
no,
couldn't name
no
one
input.
Chris Brown song.
I probably couldn't either at this point. It's funny you say that because that is kind of like, that was kind of my epiphany of getting out of that business, was being in my late 20s and realizing I got all this useless knowledge in my head, man. I know all this garbage about all these people that I can't stand. I remember when they started playing Solange Knowles' song on the radio, who is Beyonce's sister.
I was just about to ask if I should know who that is.
Beyonce's sister, who, by the way, put Che Guevara in her video as a glorified figure in the background.
Well, yeah.
And I remember going, well, that's about the end of this for me. Like, I can't do this anymore. Just can't do it. It's very similar to a conversation I had recently about a company wanting to put a certain emblem on some clothing. And I was like, hey, I'll quit. I'll quit the next day if that were to happen. It's just one of those things where you cross that line of, you know, I get that we're in the business of playing people's music that I don't like and they don't like me. I can somewhat handle that. But when you got Alicia Keys giving interviews saying she wears a gold AK pendant standing for kill white people, which she's told Blender magazine, if you remember. She's a big fan of the Black Panthers. Very racist woman. Very, very racist woman. Of course, it was all misconstrued. She came out later. Oh, no, that's true. I'm not racist. She's definitely super racist. And then you got Solange Knowles, who agrees with Che, and we should kill gays, and we should kill people that don't agree with us politically, and, you know, blah, blah. You have to get out. You have to get out. And that was kind of my exit was, all right, look, I got to get out of this. I got to go. And it was kind of the beginning of the end. All that to say, now I'm just an old man with some kids. And so when I see stuff like this, I think maybe you are just that typical old man who goes, kids these days. But it's not, I'm not yelling about the Beatles wanting to hold hands with a girl before they're married. I'm yelling about the fact that you have a punk who beat up a girl and left her bloody and bruised on the side of the road, and companies still willing to do business with him. It's unbelievable. The Intercom should be ashamed. If I had any influence on anyone doing business with Intercom, I'd tell them to stop. I'd say, I'm not doing business with you if you do business with people like Chris Brown. And when you prove to me you don't do that anymore, I'll come back to you. But radio's useless advertising anyway.
I had been pitching the show to Intercom.
Oh, you have? Mark
Pick
that
us
off
up
your
and
list.
throw us into syndication, but I guess
I wouldn't go.
so much for that.
I wouldn't go.
They're always shooting down my hopes and dreams.
Sorry, buddy, but if any Intercom station were to ever say, we'll throw money behind that Felt Recoil podcast, I'd say, not as long as I'm breathing. And then you'd have to murder me, which would be cool. I've never been murdered, so maybe that's a thing. All right.
Tomorrow is a new day.
Don't forget that Anderson Manufacturing lower receiver is up for grabs, along with 2 Daniel Defense 32-round magazines. We look forward to giving it to you. We hope you will get online and find your favorite means of social media and tag us in your post of your dream rifle, and tag every company whose furniture you would use to outfit that, or whatever optic, whatever the case may be. We look forward to putting that in your hands. Sorry for the lengthy episode, a little long-winded this week, but, you know, that's how it goes sometimes. We'll see you next time for another episode of the Felt Recoil Podcast.